I've told y'all how I feel about universities. And I say this as a person that went to one. They're rotten. They're rotten. Rotten. Whichever way you say it, I don't care where you're from. They suck. You know what that means. They suck. Another example of that. U.S. colleges will require students to be vaccinated. A growing number of U.S. colleges have said all students must be fully vaccinated before returning to campus, in a move to appear likely to anger some state governors. At least 14 colleges have said vaccination will be required. Rutgers, Cornell, Notre Dame, Northeastern, Syracuse, Fort Lewis have made similar announcements. So basically, if you want to return back to, you got to get the jab. Now, I have several thoughts that I have about that. I think that's a stupid policy. Nonetheless, y'all do understand why they're able to get away with this type of stuff. See, universities are they're extensions of the state either way. So this whole contrary to what state governors say, that doesn't mean anything because they're extensions of the state. Your entire funding is predicated on it. That's why you charge whatever the hell it is that you want to charge. That's why tuition is as expensive as it is, because the state is involved with the grant and loan business, and a lot of funding is tied to they don't earn that shit. It's money that is stolen from other people, and then future generations predominantly. And then they give you that, and then they expect you to pay it back in some sense. In some cases, depending on if it's a grant, you don't get it back. You don't need to give it back. Nonetheless, they're extensions of the state. They're rotten. They're outdated. They shouldn't even, education system, and we talk a lot about K through 12, how rotten it is, but they're all signs, or they lead to what's over here, right? That's what a lot of people like myself would lecture growing up. I always talk about the story in which, I had a teacher that once said that if I don't go to college, I'll become a garbage man. She failed to mention that the garbage man made more than her. Me thinking as despicable as university is, and the vast majority, probably 90% of the degrees that you get there are worthless anyway. Right? They're not even necessary. You're getting one just to say you got one. If you're not getting involved in law or science or something like that, it's useless. But they get to make those fake degrees, and a lot of those academics that will be out there on the streets in the event that they'd be forced to get a real job because they weren't funded by way of the people, if you will. This is why they are the most protective of the state, the academics. This policy doesn't surprise me at all. As much as bullcrap as I think that it is, this policy right here is not surprising by any means. And you're probably going to see a growing list beside these bigger institutions right here that have announced it, but it's probably going to become even more of a thing where colleges are going to require you to have the jab in order to go there. Now, I would advise that you don't do that. But see, I want to bring this back to a larger discussion. When we talk about, I think COVID is just the latest. Excuse me. I don't know why I can't talk. Latest example of this, in that the conversation that should be had more is about defunding and decentralization. The fact that we don't have that conversation is why people are allowed to get away with some of these kind of insane measures. As COVID, why does the COVID can get kicked down the road? Well, it's because a lot of people have a lot to gain from it. That not just politicians. They rolling out more $1 trillion worth of stimulus and stuff. A lot of people have a lot to gain for this pandemic. Use that loosely, the term used loosely. Pandemic to continue to go on. The reason why I think the conversation should be more about decentralization, defunding, and what have you, because you strip away their power effectively by doing that. We're not sitting here having this conversation trying to slap Band-Aids on the fact or after the fact, not having got to the actual symptom of the problem. So if you want to actually fix this type of nonsense, imagine if the party that claimed to be about liberty, right? Democrats don't even actually pretend to be. The Republicans campaign like libertarians and they govern like Democrats. But imagine if those the GOPers. Imagine if defunding and decentralization shot to the top of their, as I mentioned this before, top of their like policy, like platform, if you will. Not this other bullshit about we're trying to do this and get the right people. No, not all that. Just strict decentralization. Money not being rerouted, money being kept. Power not being new people into power, power being removed. That type of approach. You'd see, just by way of the market, restructuring of things such as academia. But they get away with stuff like that. That's the symptom of the problem that just now manifested itself. They can get away with that because of the fact that, well, they are lined up and laced up by way of the state. So effectively, that is you and your money. You just don't get a say in it. And you have to, of course, unfortunately fall, victim to whatever policies it is that they want to enact. You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.